Today, we're going to tackle what is, for a lot of people, one of the trickiest sections of the UCAT, situational judgment.
Welcome to EduRev. My goal here is super simple. I want to give you a clear, step-by-step framework to turn this part of the exam from a challenge into one of your biggest strengths. So, think of me as your guide. We're going to break down everything you need to know to absolutely nail it. Let's get started.
Okay, so let's be honest. I know a lot of you probably look at this section and just feel a bit overwhelmed. It doesn't feel as black and white as the others, does it? It's kind of fuzzy. But I promise you, there is a solid logic to it. There are rules you can learn. And by the end of this, you're going to have a really clear path forward.
So, here's our game plan. First, we're hitting the most critical skill, timing. Then, we'll decode the two different kinds of questions you'll see. After that, we'll talk about your ethical compass, the principles behind every right answer. And finally, we'll wrap up with some killer tips and a quick recap. All right, first up, your timing strategy. Seriously, before you can even think about what the right answer is, you have to get your pacing down. Mastering the clock is the foundation for everything else in this section.
I want you to burn this rule into your brain. It's the 30-10 timing rule. Here's how it works. You give yourself a super strict 30 seconds, no more, to read the scenario and figure out what the main issues are. Got it? Then you spend just 10 seconds on each response. But the real secret sauce? It's that third step. You have to commit and move on. No going back, no rereading, no second-guessing. Your first instinct is gold here.
And there's a reason for this. The UCAT is designed to test your professional instincts. The more you overthink, the more you start to doubt yourself and you just burn through precious time. So you've got to trust that gut feeling, make your call, lock it in, and keep that momentum rolling. It's a skill, and like any skill, you get better with practice.
Okay, so once you've got your timing strategy sorted, it's time to actually decode the questions themselves. You're going to face two main types: appropriateness questions and importance questions. Now, they might look kind of similar at first glance, but trust me, understanding their unique rules is the absolute key to answering with confidence.
So here's the core difference in a nutshell. Appropriateness is all about judging an action. You're asking, is this a good or bad thing to do? Simple enough, right? But importance is different. It asks you to judge a thought or a consideration. You're asking, is this piece of information something I need to think about before I act? It's a subtle difference, but it is absolutely vital.
Okay, let's break down that first type, the appropriateness scale. It's pretty straightforward. You'll get a scenario and then a list of possible actions or responses. Your job is just to rate each of those responses on a 4-point scale.
Okay, so let's look at the ratings. An A is the perfect answer. It's a direct solution that deals with the main issue head-on. A B is, well, it's a good idea, but it's incomplete. It kind of misses the main point. Now, C is where it gets tricky. C is a bad idea, but the consequences aren't that severe. Minimal damage. But D is the disaster choice. This is an action that would cause real negative consequences for a patient or for the profession. That's the one you have to avoid at all costs.
All right, let's switch gears and talk about the importance scale. Now, listen up, because there's a key trick here. Before you even look at the options, you have to figure out what the person in the scenario is probably going to do. You have to infer their action first. Then, and only then, can you judge how important each factor is for making that decision.
So, looking at this scale, an A is something that is absolutely non-negotiable. You have to consider it. A B is useful to think about, for sure, but it's not the be-all and end-all. You could probably make the right call without it. C is basically a distraction. It's kind of related, but it's not relevant to the core problem. And D, that's a harmful thought. It's something you must not consider because it would actively lead you down the wrong path.
Okay, so we've talked about the how, the timing, the question formats. Now let's get to the why. Because behind every single correct answer in this test is a core set of ethical principles. If you can really internalize these, you'll basically have a built-in compass to guide you to the right answer every time.
Seriously, look at this list as your ultimate cheat sheet. Patient safety? It's always priority number one. No exceptions. Patient confidentiality is sacred. You have to be honest, especially when something goes wrong. And this is a huge one. You have to know your limits. Never, ever work beyond your level of experience. These aren't just abstract rules for an exam, you guys. This is literally the foundation of being a great doctor.
All right, we are in the home stretch now. We've built that solid foundation, and now it's all about fine-tuning your technique. We're going to look at a couple of common spots where people get stuck, and then lock in some really practical advice for test day.
Okay, so this is a big one. So many people get tripped up trying to decide between C and D. So for those appropriateness questions, just ask yourself this one simple question. Does this action cause severe harm? If the answer is yes, if it puts a patient in danger or really damages the profession's reputation, it's a D, every time. If it's just kinda unhelpful or maybe a little awkward but not actually dangerous, then it's probably a C.
And you know what? The same kind of confusion happens with A versus B on the importance questions. Here's the test for A. Ask yourself, is it absolutely essential for me to think about this before I act? If you could still make a safe, responsible decision without that piece of info, then it's probably a B. It's significant, yeah, but it's not a must-have.
Okay, let's do some rapid-fire tips for the actual test day. Ready? 1. Don't get stuck. Remember that 10-second rule per item. 2. Force yourself to pick an answer and move. 3. Trust your gut. We've talked about this. It's usually right. And 4. Don't get freaked out by patterns. If you see 5 A's in a row, who cares? It doesn't mean you're wrong. Just trust your technique, not the letters.
Okay, let's pull all of this together in a super quick recap to make sure it all sticks.
So here it is, your entire mastery plan on one slide. Number 1, your timing. Stick to that 30-10 rule like glue. Number 2, the questions. Know the scales, who appropriateness and importance backwards and forwards. 3, your compass. Patient safety is always your top priority. And finally, your technique. Trust your gut and just keep moving forward. Don't look back.
So there you have it. You now have the complete toolkit you need to deconstruct and totally dominate the situational judgment test. But look, knowing the theory is one thing. The real key to success is putting it into practice. So the real question is, are you ready to do that?
Well, the absolute best way to practice is with the EduRev app. You can grab it on the Play Store or the iOS App Store. It is packed with more expert content just like this and tons of practice questions. It's the perfect way to turn everything we talked about today into actual points on your exam. Thanks so much for joining me, and I wish you the best of luck with your UCAT prep.